Evening all. Last night I did a video. I was trying to help somebody that had put a question in my comments about syncing the Volca modular from the Volca Beats, I think in that case was. And what we came to the conclusion was if you just hit play on the beats, that play message wasn't transmitted to the Volca modular. The tempo was syncing fine through the sync connection, but not the like play and stop. And then I said, well, there's a way to do it. You basically leave the sync cable dangling. You start off the thing that's clocking it, and then you plug in the sync out. And that was a kind of hacky way that you could sort of start the Volca modular playing. And when I went to bed last night, I was thinking, well, surely there's a better way of doing this. And the answer is there is, and it's our friend MIDI, which is what we've got set up here. So this is all synced to the DAW. So can you put the volume up? So what have we got? Volca keys, Volca beats, Volca drum, and Volca modular. And I'll just to prove now. When I stop it, the Volca modular is going to carry on going, but all the other synths should stop. Now we can stop the Volca modular just by unpatching the sync, which is a bit of a hack. So then recall, the Volca modular doesn't have a MIDI DIN connection. I believe there's solderless kits out there in the world that you can retrofit, but from the factory, the Volca modular doesn't have. There's a mean ground loop there. The Volca modular doesn't have a MIDI DIN or USB. Yeah, it's the wonderful world, the quirky world of Volca modular. But for the other range, we've got MIDI. So that means we can clock everything from our DAW and start it and stop it and have the DAW control that. But the setup, I mean, it's just it's cable snakes everywhere. But I'll show you how to do it if anyone's interested in replicating this. It's just a cable and a box. Nightmare. So to replicate this setup, you'll need obviously some Volcas. The two other components you need to think about, MIDI, and you'll need to think about your audio signal. So for MIDI, I'm using this MIDI through 5 WC. I don't know what WC stands for. These are CME boxes. You've seen me talk about the other one, which is slightly different functionality. These boxes are flipping great. You should get all of these little CME boxes. They just, for this kind of connectivity mayhem, they are amazing. So essentially my DAW, well, my sound card up there is coming into this MIDI in, which is all the way back there. That's it. Right, and then the Volca MIDI cables are just coming out of here. So that's the first one, that's the second one, that's the third one. And that's how, and it works straight out of the box. On powering it, it's powered over USB-C. It's just here. There we go. And you can see that blue thing in my hand is just a USB power pack. So that's, yeah. If you want to connect up a lot of MIDI instruments, that's one of those boxes is the boss. The second thing to worry about is obviously audio, because you've then got to mix in. In this case, I've got 4 separate audio signals, so you could have like a little mixer. I'm using a good old Samson S-Mix. Oh, I've had this a while. It's sometimes comes out as my emergency mixer. Korg do sell like a little Volca mixer. You know, you put all your things in, and you could get that. That would be fine. Bastel Instruments have that little tiny mixer as well, don't they? That they do. Or I wouldn't get, if you go on Amazon, you'll go, oh, like mini mixer. Amazon will sell you these little mixers where you can plug stuff in. In my experience, they're really noisy. They haven't done properly isolated the signal. I would avoid those. I'd try even like a cheap audio mixer would be better than those, like, I don't know, line mixers that you'll find on Amazon. So that's what you'll need. And then the other thing is just set up the DAW, and the only thing you need to worry about is your MIDI that you'll send out of your sound card. You want to send clock to that, and it's that clock signal that starts all these playing. If you're then from the DAW sending MIDI and not just relying on the internal sequencers, which I am today, but if you want sending MIDI, then you just need to know what different channels all your Volca's on, and then just make sure the MIDI is sending to that particular channel. And for that reason, what you'll see is I've used a marker pen, so I can see that's on channel 6, this is on channel 10. I've not written it for the Volca drum. If I've not written it, that probably means channel 1. And then the blooming good old Volca modular, which doesn't have MIDI at all, and you're just entirely relying on sync world. So it's a bit of a blooming faff to set this kind of thing up. And then, I mean, that's 4. We could add in the Volca sample, Volca kick. So I now have to worry about more MIDI cables, more audio cables. So this kind of modular, in a very broad sense, way of working is cool. But obviously, the more things you add to the mix, the more complicated things get. I mean, this is great, right? Because I can do one signal coming in, and I've got 5 different Volcas coming out of that. So that gets you, you know, a lot of the way there. And if you had 2 of them, you know, even more Volcas. But yeah, so it works. When I was, it took longer to set this up than it did to record this video. Just to find all the cables and get everything set up. And I was kind of thinking, this is a dumb way of working. You know, if you just had like a super duper workstation, it's like one cable, one stereo cable out your workstation, one MIDI cable going in. Whee! But then I was like playing and listening to it and putting in some patterns. I was like, actually, it's quite good fun. It is quite good fun working like this, in this sort of modular, very in the broadest sense way of working. And I mean, you know, modular in terms of I could flip out the Volca beats and put the sample in there, and I could flip out the Volca drum and put the kick in there and have a slightly different thing. Or if I've got enough MIDI cables and audio cables and mixer space, just start adding more Volcas in. Also, the other thing to worry about is power. Get yourself, I can't remember where I got it, but you can get like these crazy multiple output, you know, Medusa like cables that will power, what is this, 1 2 3 4 5, that this cable will power 5 Volcas. Very cool. Okay, so that's it. So you can kind of do this, you know, if you want to do some tracking in the studio, you want to sync everything up, and then when I press record, everything starts playing. It is possible. You don't need to worry about like syncing everything here with the sync in and out cables. You can do everything over MIDI. Good old MIDI. Oh, good old MIDI. Good old MIDI. Why don't we all use MIDI? MIDI. It's the way to go. Unless you're into modular, and then it's control voltage. But, all right, cool. That's the end of the video. Any questions? I'll endeavour to help.